So the good news is that our application is working pretty well. But I think there's still a number of things that we can do to improve the way that we built the system. The very first thing that comes to mind is right now, the product, this growth hacking crash course that we're selling, is hard-coded into the template. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with hard-coding things, although it was starting to get a little messy that we had to kind of type the price in a number of different places. So if we changed the price for this product, we'd have to remember to change it in a bunch of places, or more likely we wouldn't remember to change it on all those places, which would be bad. So it would be much nicer if we could get this product into a database. That would give us a number of benefits. The first thing is we would make absolutely sure that things like the author and the title and the price would only have to be written in a single place, and they'd only have to be updated in a single place. So if we updated them frequently, we'd never mess up and change the displayed price, but not change the price we charged people or something like that. Also, if we wanted to, we could provide someone with access to active admin and actually allow them to change things like the price or the description without having to learn how to program, which might be nice. And then finally, if we were planning on extending this to having multiple products you could select between, then it would be really nice to have all those products in a database. It would be easier to view and manage them. So let's make a start on that. The first thing I'm going to suggest that we do is I'm actually going to do something that we've not done before, which is I'm going to create something called a branch in Git. Let's firstly just check our Git status. Whenever you get started with a project, when you're in the directory, you want to make sure that the status is that you're on the master branch, the main kind of branch or unit of work, that you've got nothing to commit and your working directory is clean. So if you've got any kind of files that need to be added or committed, make sure to take care of those now. Once you get this message, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that we're going to git checkout -b to create a new branch, and we're going to call it products in database. Actually, I'm going to call it product in database, I think is a clearer example of what it is. So this is going to be a branch, a place that we can work off to the side to add the product to the database. And then it means that if for some reason there's some kind of problem with the working website, we could go back to the master branch and go fix that without having to finish this functionality. It's not absolutely essential as a solo developer, but you should find that especially if you ever work with a team of developers or have other people working with you on your project, you'd want to use branches. And we call these feature branches because for every new feature you're building, you're going to want to create a branch. Okay, so now that we've got this branch, we can now start working on it. The question is, what do we do first? Well, there's a number of things we need to do, but I think we want to start by getting some information about the product. And what I mean by that is we're going to go through the application and we're going to look at what are the fields, what is the information that we're displaying, and then we've got to put that somewhere that we can load it into the database. There's a number of ways that we could choose to load this into the database. We could just use IRB, an interactive Ruby kind of console, to type in some statements to add any information we want to the database. But the problem is then we'd have no record of what we'd created, and every time we went to another production server or another laptop, we'd have to do that again manually. So that doesn't feel like a good idea. So that leaves us with a couple of options. We could use migrations, because migrations are about making changes to the database. But in general, the purpose of migrations is to change the structure of the database rather than the content. And even though you can use migrations to change content, for example, if you are taking a full name field for users and breaking that into a first name and a last name field, you might write a script that tries to take any existing user's information to kind of break out their first name and last name into the two different fields. But generally, when you're just trying to create some initial information that you want in all your databases, there's a special place you should do that. And that's in the DB directory and in the seeds file. In fact, we can actually look here. If we go into, I'm going to open up Sublime Text, and we see under database, there's a file called seeds.rb. And this is where we're going to want to put the functionality. So let's actually start by typing. So what I want to do is I want to give this a reasonable name. Let's say growth hacking. That's the name of this product, equals, and we're going to use a product, and we're going to call the create method on that to create a new product. And then we're going to put the properties and the values that we want for this. So for example, it's going to have a title, and that's going to be growth hacking. And then we're going to need to add all of the other properties that we want in here. The question is, what should those additional properties be? Well, the best place to find that out is to go into the application and see what information we're currently displaying. And we're displaying most of that in the application, views, and then in the homepage views in this kind of pages directory here. So let's go look at this, and it's showing us, let me just make the size that a little smaller so I can see it. Okay, so it's showing us, here we go, that we've got growth hacking is the title, and then it says crash course, and this appears, this has different formatting, different information, so this appears to be like a subtitle or something like that. So let's go back here and let's say that we have a subtitle, and let's call that crash course. That's pretty good. What else do we need to know? We've got the title, the subtitle, we've got the author, so we're going to have to put the author in here. So let's put an author of Matan Griffel. Let's see what other information do we need. Looks like we've got this big description which just has markup. It just has kind of HTML as part of it. So I'm going to kind of cut and paste all of that. And that's going to be a description. So there's going to be a description field, which is probably going to be a full text field. Now, I could put quotes around this, but I actually want to make this kind of multiple lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little feature in Ruby 2.0, and I'm going to put a % and then curly braces, and this allows me to put a multi-line string in, which means I can have a bunch of carriage returns without it kind of breaking it. So there we go, I can put all of that within that percentage curly braces as a multi-line string. And you can see with the coloring here that Sublime realizes what's going on and sees that these parentheses is closing this kind of create statement. We're pretty close, but I know we've missed a couple of things. The first thing we've missed is the price, and I'm going to want to put that in as a decimal, so 4.99 for $4.99. And the one other thing that I'm going to suggest is that we create a SKU or an inventory number for this so that we can uniquely retrieve it from the database. Because right now there's only one product, so we could just product.find parentheses 1, to find the first product in the database. But that's kind of tacky, and it could break down if somebody accidentally added a different product. So I want to have an easy and unique way of retrieving this, and the title feels like a little bit long. So I'm going to say call this Grow Hack 1. That's fairly arbitrary, but it's giving us some unique identifier. So now that when we want to get this product out of the database later, I can find it by SKU. So I'm going to save this. And I think I'm even going to commit this, even though it's not a kind of completed unit of work, but I want to save this kind of step that I did. So let's go back into the terminal, and I'm going to check my git status, and I should see that I've modified the seeds file, so I could git commit -am. So I'm adding and committing this modified file, and I'm going to say added product. Actually, let's be specific, right? Growth hacking course to seeds file for database. That gives a sense of what we're working on. Great. So I've added that successfully. The next thing we need to do now, we have the seeds file, and we could run rake db seeds to load it, but that's really not going to do us any good because we don't actually have the database table. So in the next step, what we're going to do is go create the database table for this file.